Hey, what is going on, guys? So today I've got another finished build to share with y'all, and this is of course the Krachenvogel kit, the Maschinen Krieger 120 scale kit here from Wave that hopefully you guys saw me working on. If you're interested in Maschinen Krieger, hopefully you were able to tune into the live build of this. I did a couple of live stream builds, and then I even did a live stream for like the first round of painting on this, which ultimately came out pretty ugly and had to go through a couple more rounds of painting before I finally got it to something that I was at least a little bit happy with. Still not super really entirely pleased with how the color scheme came out for this, but I just kind of kept working with it until I got it to something that I was happy enough with, and it was basically to the point where either I work on it until I'm happy with it and then just kind of have to eventually call it a day, or I just had to completely give up and just strip it and totally repaint it, or I don't know, just completely airbrush over all the handbrush painting that I was doing. So I finally just thought, alright, that's looking pretty good, I'm just gonna stick with that. So here is the finished result anyway, and I'm pretty happy with it. But before we go on talking about this any further, I just wanted to go ahead and switch on the LEDs. So if you guys watched the live build of this, you saw that I went ahead and put an LED system in here, sort of system. It's kind of over-exaggerating it. It's basically sort of like a string of Christmas lights, essentially, that I bought that's just plugged into 3 AA batteries here, which I have yet to fix up onto the inside of the base here. So it's just this separate thing, but I'm gonna stick some like double-sided tape or something and have this stuck up on the inside of my simple base. But when we pop that on, it's just a string of lights that they're just all shoved up through the entire body, and then just like a bunch of them up in the heads. There's probably, the whole string is 3 meters long and it starts down here, so there's a few lights going on through the body. Most of the like 2.5 meters is probably all up in there, so there's a bunch of lights up inside the head. And in this well lit room here, you're not really seeing much lights. In a dark room though, unfortunately some light leaks through the paint. Actually, let me go ahead and switch off some lights there for us so you can see that. So aside from like the main light on the front here, I did also drill out a couple holes, like this hole here for this little kind of port on the side. I drilled that out so some light would come out of there. And then also up on the underside, there's a kind of detail there where I drilled out that hole so it would shine some light down onto this part here on the front as well. And then the same thing on the back, there's some light kind of going out from the head down there as well too. And then here on the back, I didn't add these are just part of the kit, but there's holes in here with some clear parts on the back, but those are just plain clear, and I painted in clear orange just to kind of look nice on there. So you got some light that's coming out where it's supposed to, and also kind of where it's not supposed to. So it's gonna be kind of hard for you guys to see on camera, which is good, but it seems to be, I think, probably not so much because of the color of the paint, but just because there's a lot of light in there. So even though there's plastic, primer, paint on top of that it still kind of shines through a little bit, but just depending on how dark it is. Unless it's like super dark in the room, you're not really going to notice that, fortunately. Also, this section here where I made the open hatch, there's a couple of holes drilled in there, and the idea was for that part to also be kind of lit up, and it is kind of lit up, but again, it ends up looking a little bit more like you're just seeing light leaking through the plastic rather than like coming up through the holes that I drilled in there. So I drilled a couple holes and even added a little clear part up in there as well too. Try to show it to you guys here as best I can, and because the kit is so like tall and skinny, whenever I move the kit's gonna be kind of shaky like that, so apologies that it's shaking around, but it's just kind of a tall thin kit, so you can sort of see the glow of that clear part there. Then you're also seeing just kind of a lot of light leaking there, unfortunately, so I might go in and try to retouch that up a little bit with some black paint, but I think again it's probably not so much the issue of the paint, but just the thickness of the plastic is very thin there, so you're not really going to be able to cover that up so much with so much light being inside there. But the good point is at least how bright the main light is, kind of the main front of there is, which I really like, and that was kind of the main goal of that. I think it ends up looking very cool. But alright, so now seeing it back lit up under full light, you guys can just see kind of the finished product of this now. And so yeah, just going back to just the painting of this, what the original idea of the scheme for this was to base the color scheme, base the painting scheme off the Starry Night Reed Frog, which I talked about earlier. And then I think that in the early stages of this, it was looking like kind of close to what I was going for, but I was realizing that I just didn't really like how it was looking on this particular kit. So I pretty quickly decided that scheme just wasn't really going to work for this, unfortunately. But what I decided to do was try to leave some remnants of that really stark contrast of like the lime green and like almost black is basically what it was in the early painting. and leave a little bit of that, but then kind of cover it up with some a little bit more muted, kind of a little bit more normal Maschinen Krieger colors with the kind of like light olive kind of color and the sandy brown kind of colors in there as well too. Just felt a bit more realistic, a bit more fitting to this particular kit, but then like tried to leave a little bit of that funky green in there as well too. So I'm not sure. It's probably like canonically or like for like real Maschinen Krieger super fans probably aren't necessarily gonna too much like that. It's not bad, honestly. I'm not like super enthused about it. I think it came out pretty cool either way. I think the green, it does look pretty funky, which normally is not like a big deal for me. I am normally kind of fine with that, but on this one I'm not sure if it really fits all that much. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about it. How do you think it looks? Cool, or is it just kind of silly looking on that color on there? I don't know, but anyway, after that, I mean, I didn't really make any modifications to this aside from just adding the LED into it, so there's nothing really too much as far as like any extra parts or anything like that. Like I said, I just drilled out a couple extra holes, made that hatch on the top to be open, because as the kit is, there's no like way to set that. You basically just have to glue the hatch in that position. That's really all that is to that. Pretty easy to do. No other like extra modifications or anything like that. Just some seam line removal, especially on the Panzerschrecks. There's lots of seam line removal to do on those because there's 6 of them and they're each made up of 2 halves, so you got lots of seams to remove on that, lots of sanding, and then painting those is kind of a chore as well too. Painting like the connecting parts for that. So yeah, that was tedious, but overall then I just painted it and just did a little bit of weathering on it basically, and just I did kind of a gunk wash over some areas and stuff, and then did a little bit of some like filtering in certain areas with some light gray and white on the kind of the tops of some areas to make it look a bit more faded, and those areas like on the top, the areas that would kind of get more sun, right? And then to do a little bit of chipping as well too, but I did it a little bit differently than normally. I tried actually, like, I think it's reductive chipping, I believe is the term for that, but correct me if I'm wrong, where you actually chip away the paint rather than like, normally we add chipping by using a sponge or paintbrush or wherever, however you want to add your chipping, but I tried the technique of like actually chipping away the paint, which is something, I'm sure a lot of people do this, and I'm not saying this is particularly a Max thing, but the person who immediately comes to mind when I think of doing that particular technique is Max Watanabe, because I know he does do that a lot on his. So it was kind of nervous to do because you're intentionally chipping away the paint that you've just spent a bunch of time putting on there, but no, it's actually worked out really quite well. I really do quite like it, so I will definitely be using that technique more in the future. What I use for that, just for you guys' reference, I just use the back of my hobby knife, so not the knife blade edge, but the back side. Just use that to scratch the edge a little bit of some areas, just to add a little bit of chipping, and also didn't go overboard with it at all. Just like tried to just put a few chips here and there where it kind of made sense that there would be. Also did like a couple of scratches like in the paint. The problem with adding the scratches though too is I added some scratches on like the head section where there's a lot of light, so I made that mistake, and so now like the light shines through where the scratches in the paint are even more, so that's kind of the problem. But again, like under full light like this, you're not really gonna see that. It's only when you're looking at it in the dark and you can see like that there's light shining through where the paint is scratched. So that's unfortunate, but there's only a couple points of that on the head, and then like one on like the stem, I guess, sort of too as well. But anyway, that was pretty much it, guys. And then just did a semi-gloss top coat on everything, just so you still get a little bit of that shine there to give it that metallic look. Not metallic as in like metallic paint kind of metallic, but I mean like as in it looks like metal that's slightly shiny but not super matte coat on it. So let me know your guys' thoughts. As always, very interested and just curious to know how you guys think it turned out. I had a lot of fun with the build either way, even if the colors are kind of a little bit odd. I'm not sure if they really necessarily work all that well, but I had fun painting this, and I just always enjoy building these kits, so they're a lot of fun to work on either way, no matter how it turns out. I'm happy with it enough. It's done. The LED in the head I think turned out really cool. I really like how the pilot figure works with this as well too. I like the composition of that, and the open hatch kind of there on the top just adds to the kind of cool look of this. So thank you guys so much for checking out the build. If you guys want to check out any Maschinen Krieger kits for yourself, definitely check them out at USA Gundam Store. We can't get a ton of them there, but what we can get you guys should definitely check out, because if you guys are new to the Maschinen Krieger line, you may not have found out yet that these kits, once they're sold out, they can be pretty difficult and expensive to get. So if you can get them like straight away when they come out, like at list price, that's the best way to go. So this one being just recently released should still be available, and then there's some new ones. I think the newest one then after this is the Camel, which is the one that I'm planning on working on next, so I'm looking forward to that. Either that or the Luna Diver. I think maybe the new version of the Luna Diver did come out first, but I'm planning on working on the Camel next for my next Maschinen Krieger build, which is a pretty big one, so look forward to that. If you guys want to see some live streams of that, definitely let me know. I probably will either way, but if I know that there's a lot of you guys looking forward to those live streams, then I'll definitely bump that up in the schedule. But for now, guys, thank you so much for checking out this video, liking the video, commenting, subscribing, all that's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys so much for your support. Till next time, hope you're all having a great day. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.